Hi everyone, another tactics video for you, this time covering the Forge World options from the recently released index cards for the 10th edition units. I've got in front of me here on another laptop their points as well as all the other units that have been released in plastic. Interestingly, this was put over two separate documents. We've got one which has a lot of units and the vehicles and the tanks, and then another one which has got like all the aircraft, so broken up in two documents, which is a bit different. But getting straight into it, the first one on display is the Def Corps Marshal. Now the Def Corps Marshal cost you 60 points, and for reference, Acadian Castellan cost you 55 points. Now when you eyeball the key statistics here, they're all the same. I'm very confident. With 4 wounds, toughness, and a 5+ invul save, and the shooters and stabbers are largely the same. There might be some melee weapons missing, but of course the focus on this model is more the abilities. So interestingly, he's got a 5+ feel no pain, which certainly gives him an additional pip of survivability versus Acadian Castellan or Sala Creed, for example. A leader, and he can join Def Corps of Krieg and infantry squads, so that makes sense from a lore point of view to a degree. And his cool stuff is basically he can give 1 regimental order, only 1, and this actually matches the Acadian Castellan, who I think can only give 1 order as well, which is a bit of a nerf for them. But then it's got a 5+ feel no pain. Whilst this model is leading a unit, models in that unit have a 5+ feel no pain, so that certainly is very, very stackable. So if we think about him joining an infantry squad or the Def Corps of Krieg, basically the 5+ feel no pain then ladders up with the medic, which can recover models every turn. And actually this then trumps the need for a command squad, because the command squad has got the medic, gives you a 6+ feel no pain. This guy gives you a 5+ feel no pain. So suddenly we're thinking, this could be quite a nice synergy across the Def Corps of Krieg infantry squads, infantry style squads of maybe 20 models, and of course with a Primaris Psyker, giving them a 4+ invul save from shooting attacks. This is going to really make them stick around even more. So at 60 points versus, as I said, the Acadian Castellan at 55 points, I'm very confident. 50 points actually, my correction. It's 60 points versus 50 points for the Acadian Castellan. And the fact he can basically use the Insane Bravery stratagem for free, and you can use it even though it's been used by somebody else. Although you can't do it more than twice per phase. So that's definitely good. But basically, additional 10 points at paying versus Acadian Castellan is giving that unit a 5+ feel no pain. So that's definitely worthy of considering. And if you want to bring a big blob of Def Corps of Krieg, make him stick around for a while, looks like this guy's your man. This person's your man. Okay, so looking good for the Def Corps Marshal. So what else have they got for Def Corps? Okay, they've got the Riders, which is their models I've got, and I often use them as Rough Riders. But the thing with their points, if I quickly go to their points as well, is they're also cheaper, and critically their comparison is obviously the Rough Riders. So 5 Def Corps of Krieg Riders is 70 points, and you can also bring them in blobs of 10 at 140 points, simply double. So let's have a look at the Rough Riders. Rough Riders come in at where's Rough Riders? Italian Rough Riders. Oh, okay, so 5 Rough Riders are 80, 5 of these guys is 70. So as you eyeball their statistics, their movement and everything, basically I think it's the same. 12-inch move, toughness 4, 2 wounds, 4+ save. Shooters, they don't have las guns, whilst the Rough Riders have got las guns, so less range damage. And their hunting lances are way less as good as the Rough Rider Lancers, which have obviously the nerfed frag tip and then also the melter tip, which is actually quite reasonable. But the Lance, this basically means you get +1 to the wound roll, so it's strength 4. You're going to be wounding any vehicles on a 5, and most infantry on a 3 then, at AP 1 damage. Interestingly though, you do get 3 attacks versus the Rough Riders only give you the 1 attack each now. So you are trading obviously higher impact in inverted commas for just volume of hits. So I mean, yeah, 70 points for these guys isn't that, they're not horribly overcosted, and their sole ability, once per turn, if an enemy unit ends a move within 9 inches of these guys can make a move of up to 6. So that's good. Could set up for maybe a next turn charge, although you're basically batting your opponent into charging them. Maybe that's what you want to do. But at 70 points, they're going to face the same problems as the Rough Riders did at the back end of 9th and also in 10th, where they've got to move around terrain pieces. And if anything looks at these, all the Rough Riders, they just disappear. And I really felt that in some of my later games in tournaments. The Rough Riders just are made of paper. But at 70 points, 5 of them, they're not a massive investment. Maybe a couple of these, a bit more mobility, if I'm going to stutter there. So maybe 70 points. Okay, what else is there? So then there is the Death Rider Squadron Commander. Now, he comes in at 60 points. 60 points. So the same price as his foot soldier colleague, the Death Corps Marshal. So he's 60 points. Interesting. Okay, so same as the guys before, but it has got 5 wounds. And I think is 1 extra wound compared to his foot soldier, foot slogging friend. Yeah, 4 wounds. He also has the 5+ invul save. Shooters and stabbers are all the same. Interestingly, there's no power sword option anymore. And what units can he join? Basically, the unit above, the Death Rider Squadron, not Death Corps of Creed Rider Squadron anymore. Now, what does he do? Can give 1 order to regimental units. Okay, no change. And whilst this model is leading a unit, that models in that unit gain the infiltration ability. Okay, so this definitely has got some more merit. So you put, this guy at 60 points, 70 points for 5 rough for Death Corps Riders, 130 points for an infiltration unit, which are going to be somewhat more resilient than, say, what have we got? Well, actually, we don't have any infiltration units, do we, besides Ghost, but okay, these guys could move 12. They've got a little bit of melee output. They could be pre-deployed in no man's land. Maybe there's a play there. And interestingly, you can see here, each time this model makes a charge move so only he, every time he charges, he gets devastating wounds. So if you 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, 4 go through roughly, you then got to roll some 6s to basically translate into mortal wounds. So that's definitely not going to blow your socks off. But clearly there's a bit of a package here. Take him, +5 Death Corps Riders, infiltration unit, maybe some play there, but I don't know, it's not hyper powerful. Now, a bit of a sad story here as far as Death Corps is concerned is, as I eyeball the points, this is all the Death Corps units. So that's it. I know, actually looking at the Forge World as I click through here, they're interestingly still selling. Okay, they got the infantry units, fine, whatever. But what's quite sad to see they're still selling is the Hades Breaching Drill with these engineers and the Mole Launcher. I think it is. The engineers basically take either, and whilst they're selling it, there's nothing here for those units, so they're now legend or gone, which is quite sad to see. Okay, all right, no sob stories here. Right, so the Carnodon. Now, I've actually pulled up Forge World because I keep forgetting what all these things are. So the Carnodon, I think, is a little weird one. And it's got some, where are you? Come on, don't embarrass me on when I'm recording. There it is, that ugly looking thing. I think it goes back like to the 30th millennium, I think, if you're a bit into the lore more than I am. Now, it comes in at a very odd price at Carnodon at 160 points. So it's roughly 20 to 40 points cheaper than a Limb Rust battle tank. So what do you get? Toughness 10, which I think is a bit weaker. You get 1 less wound, and basically, as is per the model, you can see it gets top shooter turret opponents and side sponsons. So I believe what was the jam in the back end of 9th edition was the Volkite Culverin and Cavalier basically inflicted mortal wounds, and that's kind of carried over here as well. So you've got 4 attacks from the sponson weapons, 4 from the top, and then your wound roll, you're getting devastating wounds, which actually translates to 2 mortal wounds, which is not bad. You can take all the other stuff as well. So interestingly, you can take twin autocannon, twin las cannon, twin multi-laser. Why you take a multi-laser, I don't know. And they're all twin links, so definitely some merit there. getting a fair few shots. But interestingly, with a twin-linked las cannon, you're only getting one shot. That must be a typo, although you get to reroll the single wound. Now, what does it do? So basically, this rule is garbage. If your opponent's in their deployment zone, reroll 1 to hit, 1 to wound. Okay, so if their shooters are a bit more longer, maybe this stuff here, so 48 inches, you know, you could be quite aggressive with your deployment, put them towing the line, and then if you get first turn, you can see stuff. You get to reroll once, because 48 should be enough for most battlefield. Yeah, definitely if it's short, but if it's long, a bit different. But I don't know. I mean, 160 points. It's a little bit weaker as far as Limit Rush Battle Tank is concerned. And crucially, we can't forget this, is it just costs a fortune. £85 versus what a Lehman Russ is now, like £35, £40. So basically paying twice the physical cash. So I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that model. Plus it looks weird, in my opinion. Okay, what's next? Oh, the Cyclops demo vehicle. This little bomb buggy. Right, so it costs 25 points. So really, really cheap. Okay, you can see it's just about blowing itself up. That basically is it. I like here it says the model is equipped with nothing. Okay, it's equipped with nothing. Cool. And it can go in transports, and it takes up the space of 7 models. Okay, so you can fit, from memory, 1 of these plus 5 dudes in a Chimera. Now, okay, 8-inch move, toughness 4, 4 wounds, and this doesn't matter because you don't care. And interestingly, it doesn't hold any objectives. It just runs with it. So, each time this model or an enemy unit ends a move that is within 3 inches of 1 or more enemy units, select one of those units. This model is destroyed, but instead of rolling for deadly demise, which is 1 mortal wound on a 6, 2 to 5 will suffer D3 wounds, and on a 6 will suffer D6 wounds, mortal wounds. And, okay, the deadly demise, actually, they blow up on a 4 instead of a 6, doing 1. So, at 25 points, with a chance to do maybe 6, probably more likely on average 2, because you're rolling a D3. 25 points, I think, yeah, definitely you could really play this because it's so cheap. Stick them in reinforcements, do some real shenanigans, get them out quite early. I don't know, maybe charge them into your opponent, and you end a move. Okay, so I wonder if that could be a charge. Now, any lawyers out there, Warhammer lawyers, is a charge counted as a move? Because if it is, you could charge it then blow it up. Now, don't know, but at 25 points, you could definitely play a few of them. You could put them in reinforcements, as I said, get them out, play some shenanigans with your opponent, bait them into movement, maybe just move block, with the threat of suffering some mortal wounds. But this isn't a lot of mortal wounds in the scheme of things, is it? But 25 points, definitely playable, just for giggles. Right, who's next? The Malcador. Let's remind us what the Malcador looks like, because I've done quite a lot of videos over the last couple of years about Forge, but I just forget what they all look like. Okay, the Malcador is the big, obviously World War I inspired tank. So the Malcador, and this refers to the battle cannon equipped Malcador. Right, so the Malcador comes in at a 250 points. Okay, so reference that to a Lehman Russ is between 180 and 220 for the Demolisher. And then a Rogal Dawn comes in at 285. So this at 200 points, Malcador 250 rather. Sorry, feels relatively well costed. So 18 wounds. It's more Lehman Russ. I think it's about the same as the Rogal Dawn, and an OC value of 5, I believe, is also the same as a Rogal Dawn. So what do you get? Now, weaponry, nothing really to sort of make any difference. But, okay, so the battle cannon is identical to the Lehman Russ battle tank battle cannon. Okay, it then can take sponson weapons if we go into the weapon type. So you've got, right, 2 heavy bolters as opposed to auto cannons on the side, and the heavy bolter at the front. Okay, so it's like Lehman Russ with 3 sponsons front and side. You can take stubbers and storm bolters, and it's got a big boy blast cannon, a battle cannon. So at 250 points, what does it get? So each range attack that targets this model worsen AP by 1. So basically the old armor contempt rule baked into this. And at a 2+ save, If you go back to the good old-fashioned days of pre the new codex for us, or the 9th edition codex, that definitely keeps things around more than you expect. And in addition, where AP has all come backwards or been reduced, this probably is even more powerful than it was in 9th edition. So 250 points, 18 wounds. Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely toss up between this and a Rogal Dawn. But always the point is going to be the cost, 121 points, which is well over double a Rogal Dawn. All right. Okay. Next in the family is the Annihilator. So the Annihilator cost you 270 points, so 20 points more than its battle cannon brother. And the Annihilator has got 2 las cannons, which is super cool. So, interestingly though, let's have a look. So the twin las cannon, it's only getting 1 shot, but okay, whatever. It's twin, but you get 1. At least you get to roll the wounds. And this also has got a belly demo cannon. And interestingly, the demo cannon, I'd argue, that should be better than a twin-linked las cannon, because you're getting more shots. It's high 8, it's high strength, albeit this is D6 plus 1. Meh, I don't know. So 270, and the Rogal Dawn, as I said before, what is it? 285, so getting close to a Rogal Dawn. And what is its ability? So range attacks ignore cover if targeting enemy unit within half range. Okay, so on your 1 shot from the turret weapon, hitting on 4s at AP, AP3 becomes AP4 against maybe infantry. Or, in the new terrain rules, which seem to be quite wonky, vehicles can get cover as well. This could work, but I don't know. It's not the strongest, the Malcador. And again, at the cost you've got to pay, the physical cash, it's a lot of money for what you're getting, which isn't probably that good overall. And the key thing as well is these have all got Squadron, so they can all get orders, tank orders. Right, who's next? The Defender. So the Defender, basically has got the belly demo cannon, and then it's got a crap load of sponsored weapons, and you can basically take either a crap load of 7 heavy bolters, or you can change them with auto cannons. But I think the way to go probably now is just crap loads of heavy bolters, because sustained hit 1 is going to see you actually putting out more shots than you'd think. So it's covered in heavy bolters. How much does this one cost? The Defender, Malcador Defender, it's 310. Okay, so you are paying a lot there. Okay, interestingly, so Armored Defender, you do Overwatch on a 5+. Now, the Overwatch stratagem, as you know, has been completely changed. We can do it both in the charge and your opponent's movement phase, and it's within 24 inches. So as we'll look at some other units in a moment, that opens up humongous change to the game, where you can have something like this. If it's got 7 heavy bolters, 3 shots each, that's 21 shots, hitting on 6s, which are also critical wounds because you've stayed still, and then 6s would be sustained hits. So okay, so 21, you're probably getting about 3 or 4 shots. They're all 6s, which means then you get 8 shots landing on target. This could certainly be quite nasty, just be given it's got a lot of shots. But the same logic, you just apply it to a Rogal Dawn or a Baneblade with lots of shooters as well. But crucially, 2+ save will keep this thing around. So at 310 points and at 120-ish pounds, I think if you own the model, it's definitely got play. But I personally wouldn't go and spend that money, because it's just so expensive now, and obviously inflation's killing everything. Okay, what's next? Okay, the Infernus, and the Infernus is the massive big flame truck. I don't know if I saw the Infernus here. I don't know if it's actually on sale anymore. In the UK, it might be in the US or other big markets, but I can't see it. It's basically the big flame car, and it's got like a little trailer full of its gasoline or Promethean. Okay, so the Infernus costs you 235, so it's on the cheaper end. And its big boy blast is basically the Inferno gun, which is 18-inch range, D6 plus 3, strength 5, AP2, 2 damage. And obviously it's a flamer or a torrent weapon, so automatic hits. Now what can it take? You can basically take 2 heavy stubbers, Inferno gun, armor tracks, and then you can take like 2 heavy stubbers or auto cannons, heavy bolters, flamers, las cannons. Now, its rule is basically it's cool. It blows up on a 3+, and then they suffer D6 mortal wounds. Now, yeah. Actually, no. So if it's destroyed on a 3+, it can shoot on death. Apologies. So if it dies on a 3+, you can shoot on death at 4 wounds. So just the same as the tank commander ability, where he does it on a 2+. This does it on a 3+. So, you know, it's not too bad. 2, 3, 5 points. Again, it's an expensive model as far as cash is concerned, but like the rest of its Malcador family models, you know, some are all right, but at a cost to you financially. Okay. Now the Earthshaker carriage battery. So if you don't know what this looks like, basically it's an artillery piece. Now the way it's meant to be played is you have it with some infantry dudes around it, and they've actually excluded all of them from the rules. And I believe they say, okay, designer's note: place 5 heavy artillery crew tokens next to each Earthshaker carriage, removing each time its Earthshaker model loses a wound. Okay, itself is considered as its final wound. Interesting. Okay, so it's got 6. That's interesting. Okay, so it's got 6 wounds, and they say to put down 5 crewmen, which you can either buy from Forge or just jerry-rig your own. And every time one dies, you take a model off. That's actually a really smart way of doing it, actually. That's really good. Now, its weaponry is no change. It's D6 plus 3, strength at AP2, 2 damage, and just like the Basilisk, with the same weapon, it's the same thing. We're -2 movement on the movement and charge rolls, advance and charge. Now it's got the infantry keyword, and it's got regiment, which means it can get the orders. But being infantry, does that open up anything? And I've seen some of my patrons talk about it. I can't remember what the point was, but does that make it a bit fancy being infantry? Maybe there could be some stratagems that I've maybe forgotten, but interesting. And crucially, its points are 70 points. So I think the Basilisk, that's cheaper than the Basilisk. The Basilisk cost you 110. Oh, this is well cheap. This is really cheap. Oh gosh. So yeah, I mean, if you can afford it to spend £100 on this big bad boy, I mean, buy it, because that's really, that's just, I think that's too cheap. It's just, again, it's pushing us into the indirect style of play, which is, you want to just flatten people, table them, grab. If you want to have a relatively uninteractive game, it's the way to go, but I don't know. Okay, so really good news for the Earthshaker carriage battery. Right, the Medusa carriage battery, which is basically, if any of you don't know, the Medusa is basically like a demolisher cannon, but 36-inch range, and this one's only D6 though, so that's not great. Oh, hitting on 5s. Oh, did I miss that? Hitting on 5s. Yes, okay. So compared to the Basilisk, okay, so the Basilisk has got ballistic skill 4+, this has got 5+. Okay, so that does reduce the effectiveness, but you could give it, you know, it stays still, it's going to stay still the entire game. You give it the order to basically, it gets the heavy +1, then you give it the order. That should put on 3+, I'm pretty sure, if you can do that. But D6 here definitely is not as good as, obviously, D6 plus 3. And the Medusa carriage battery is, where are you? Medusa is at 65 points. So it's like it's 5 points cheaper than the Earthshaker carriage battery. And at 65 points, that feels pretty reasonable. Now, its rule basically, every time a unit's been hit by it, you got to take a battle shock test. Fine. Not amazing. Now, the one point about these two models is their I believe, I don't own them, but they look like they've got very big footprints. Maybe even bigger than the ordnance battery, which means your precious cover is going to be just taken up by this massive model. Okay. Interesting they still kept that around. Right, the Stormblade. Now the Stormblade, for those who don't know, is, where are you? It is, I wonder if they still got, it's this thing. So it's basically a twin plate. It's got like from a Titan, the twin plasma cannon. And I actually jerry-rigged one of these myself. I bought the single piece from Forge World of the twin plasma thing and jerry-rigged it on there. I've got a video. I'll actually put it up in a link here. Now, the cool thing about the Stormblade is basically it's 415 points. So compared to its Baneblade brothers and sisters, which vary between like 500 and something points to like the I think the mid to high 400s, at 415 points, this actually feels like a possible option. So 13, toughness 13, 24 wins, and I'm very confident it's the same as the Baneblade family, and likewise the OC value of 8. And its big boy blast shooter is basically this here sort of Stormblade Plasma Blast Gun. So standard is D6 plus 3, strength on AP2, 3 damage, which is not to be scoffed at. And then if you supercharge, which of course is hazardous, it's strength on AP3, 4 damage. So really starting to, lay in some uppercuts. Let's just check the weapons. It's then got, 2 las cannons, 2 twin heavy bolters, and armor tracks. So basically it's got the big boy blast shooter, and it's got some sponsored weapons. Now, you can also then bolt on more sponsored weapons, and as per the video I did a couple of days ago about the vehicles, that's great. You're going to have basically 4 sponsored weapons, getting a lot of shots out. But the challenge for anybody who owns a Baneblade is I don't own the 3rd and 4th sponsored set, and I've modeled it not to do that. So I'm not going to rip up my vehicle model to do that, which is an overarching problem with this edition. All the points are baked in. So at 415 points, you've got 4 sponsored, which is the Big Boy Blast, which is actually pretty decent. And its ability is, if you're firing within half range of Big Boy Blast, at 24 inches, you can roll a hit roll, which definitely helps because this is only hitting on 4s unless you get an order, which can only be given to you by Lord Solar because it doesn't have regiment or squadron in its keywords. You're hitting on 4s, so re-rolling the 1s is definitely going to help you. But 415, this probably is, from a very early opinion, the most playable super heavy we've got at the moment. Now, that's just my opinion, and tell me if I'm wrong here. Okay, what's next? The Macharius. Now let's remind ourselves what the Macharius looks like. The Macharius is not only a famous general, but also this big thing here, 145 pounds. Right, so the Macharius comes in at 310 points. Okay, so a little bit more expensive than the Rogal Dawn. Toughness 13, 20 wounds, which is more than Rogal Dawn. And OC value of 8. Now 8, is that the same as the... Okay, so it's the same as the Stormblade, which is the same as the Baneblade. So clearly it's an old super heavy, one of the bigger ones. Now crucially, you'll also see here, doesn't have the regiment or squadron keyword, so it can't take orders except for Lord Solar. And basically its jam is it's got twin battle cannon, and its weaponry is 2 heavy stubbers, battle cannon, 2 twin heavy stubbers, and armored tracks. So it's basically got, as I go back to the model, shooter at the front, sponsons on the side, and the big boy blast at the top here. It is the twin battle cannon, which is only D6 plus 3 for twin battle cannon. That's just like a battle cannon, but that's weird because it was the same as the twin las cannon, wasn't it? It's like this is. That must be a mistake. Anyway, okay, whatever. Strength 10, which is a bit more. AP1 still 3 damage. Okay, so if you're within each of this battle range, if it's within range of an objective marker, you roll the 1s to hit. Okay, so it's kind of like the Lemon Rust battle tank, half as good as far as that's concerned. And at 310 points, it's not bad. I think there's some of its other siblings in the Macharius family, and definitely some better ones. So who's next? The Vanquisher. So the Vanquisher's got the big bully cannon, our favourite. Actually, again, it's modelled as a twin, but you fire 1 shot. This is just weird. I don't know. So this is weird. There's a bit of a weird one here, but right, this guy comes in at the Macharius Vanquisher. Where's the Macharius? 285 points. Okay, so it's on the cheaper end, 285 points. But as you as you eyeball these rules, okay, so it's twin linked, which means twin linked. Okay, strength 18, AP 4, D6 plus 6. Now I'm pretty sure that's very close to what the Vanquisher battle cannon has in Limb and Russ. But being twin linked means you get to reroll the wounds anyway, and being heavy if you sit still hitting on 3s. Okay, so you reroll the wounds, and if you target monsters and vehicles, you reroll the hit rolls. Okay. I thought it was reroll the hit and both, which would be weird, but right, okay. So of your one shot, you re-roll the hit roll if you're shooting monsters in the vehicles, roll the wound roll if you're shooting monsters, if you re-roll the wound roll full stop. So, okay. Big bullying sniper vehicle, potentially 285 at 145 pounds. I probably wouldn't be buying that if I had enough money to do it. Right, the Vulcan. Now, reminding it's the Vulcan has got the big Gatling cannons. And the Vulcan comes in at 310 points, and its main course, of course, is the Vulcan Mega Bolter. So strength 16, correction, 6 in attacks, strength 6, AP 1, 2 damage, and sustain hit 1. Now, I'm very confident this is the same as the Baneblade version with the Stormlord, I think it is. I'll try and get it up here. And basically, its ability is make a ranged attack. Doesn't have the penalties for hits. Engagement range of 1 or more. And okay, so that's all right because drive this thing up, ram it into melee units, infantry style units that focus on melee that are just going to bounce off toughness 13, murder them in shooting into the engagement range because this is not blast, and you don't get the -1 to hit because models are engagement range. So. Maybe, but again for me it's just about money, and this thing at 310 points is more than a Rogel Dawn, obviously. Okay, who's next? Okay, the Praetor. Now let's remind ourselves what it looks like. Okay, the Praetor is the massive, big, weird looking. Where are you? Here it is. This massive, big rocket truck looking something out of the unfortunate Ukrainian war, the Russians and Ukrainians killing each other. So this big rocket truck, 150 pounds, coming in at a very hot 225 points. So it's quite cheap. I think it's cheaper than it used to be. It's going to be, it's very tanky, obviously. It's basically the same profile as a Rogel Dawn, so a bit cheaper. And its main course is, of course, it's Praetor launches. You've got the Firestorm. So blast heavy ignores cover and indirect fire. So you're hitting on 3s if you keep still. It's a situational AP2 because you ignore cover. And 2d6, again, variable. I'm not a big fan of variable rolls like that, but that could be good because you've got blast. And you're gonna pick on infantry. So then go for the Praetor launcher Foe Hammer. And you've got d6 plus 1, strength 4, AP2, 3 damage. Now, interestingly, what they do there is they give you anti-monster, wounding on 4+, anti-vehicle, wounding on a 4+. So that is, this actually looks quite good then. So pick on your blobs of infantry. Someone brings 20 orc boys, for example. And then to take out vehicles, which potentially, if you get turn 1, you could just do an alpha strike and smash them with a foe hammer with a maximum range of 120. Anti-vehicle 4+, anti-monster vehicle 4+ is really quite good. So targeting coordinates. Voss has been affected by an order because it's got Squadron. Okay, this has got Squadron, but then the other big ones don't. Okay, that's interesting because I don't think I had Squadron in 9th edition. So it can take orders from tank commanders. Cool. Doesn't suffer the penalty. Oh man. Okay. So if you take an order, gunners kill on sight, whatever it is, or take aim, you're hitting on 3s, you're then hitting on 2s, and then you're going to keep hitting on 2s because why are they doing this? Why are they making it just like you just want to take indirect fire? So basically, ignore the penalties if you can't see something. Man, 10th edition is just going to be us with just indirect fire, hammering people all day. numerous scout sentinels, just clogging up your opponent with his artillery. It's going to be very one-dimensional for us. But the Praetor, at 225 points, coming in at 150 pounds to buy, definitely has merit because it's got both anti-infantry and anti-vehicle and monster, which certainly is going to be quite important, even for us as we go into other potential vehicle-heavy lists. Okay. All right. Now, the Crassus. Now, I have to remind myself what this looks like, because I mean, it's just all these random models. Now, the Crassus, where are you? Come on, Crassus. I think it's a big Crassus. Now, if I'm going to scroll past it, okay, it's this massive transport, and yeah, I think I've seen people sort of like do kit bashing with it open, with all the Def Corps of Krieg guys in the back, I think. So massive big armoured transport. Toughness 11, 18 wounds, OC value of 5, so it's like a Rogal Dawn. And the Crassus cost you 180 points, which basically is, if this is a transport, which can take 35 Astra Militarum infantry models, so all lined up in the back, ready to jump out and do some sort of big assault. But a Chimera is 85 points, sort of 130 points. This feels about right. At 18 wounds, can carry 3 times as many models, toughness 11. How much does it cost? They're all expensive, 145 pounds, but this definitely feels adequately costed, in my opinion. Yeah. Now, what is it shooters? It's got 4 heavy bolters. Okay, you can't sniff at that because that's sustained hits. Could do work, and of course you can take a heavy stubber or a Stormbolter. Always taking heavy stubber. Because you've got Rapid Fire 3 versus Rapid Fire 2. So what does it do? Okay, standard rule. So after this model has shot, hit, blah, 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 the units that disembark can reroll the wound roll. So the 35 models which pile out, and critically it says, Ogrims take 3 models, space of 3 infantrymen, and heavy weapon teams take obviously 2. As they lay in there with their las guns and ripper guns, whatever you're shooting, reroll the wound roll. So this feels very effectively costed versus the Chimera. Okay, what's next? So the Colossus. And these are the Colossus Bombard. So the Colossus is the thing with the mechanical arm loading into the back. This thing here, this is actually called the Imperial Bombard. It's Colossus Bombard. So indirect fire weapon. It's 130 points, which feels about right for indirect fire. But interestingly, whilst I say indirect fire, it can't shoot out of line of sight. So, okay, blast devastating wounds. It's got D6 shots. Not a big fan. Strength 6, AP 1, D6 plus 2. So that's tasty. And devastating wounds. Oh boy. Okay, so that could do work. And at 130 pounds, but this has no indirect now. Is that right? Am I looking at the right one? Because I know the Imperial Bombard is typically referred to as a Colossus, but I can't see anything else that would be called a Colossus. And if you know, again, in the comments, tell me what you think here, because I'm not a super massive disciple of Fortor. Okay. So, you've got to see what you're shooting at, which we don't, as I said, we don't like that. But so if you do keep still, you've got anti-monster 5+, anti-vehicle 5+. Okay, so that's got merit. So basically it's a toss-up between this and the Praetor. So the Crassus at 180 points, and the Praetor was 200 and something points, 25. I don't know, this probably, I don't know, maybe not. All right, now onto the Valdor, and the Valdor basically is the Malcador with a massive big laser cannon in the middle of it. It's quite a cool looking model. So the Valdor cost you 285, so it's exactly the same as a Rogal Dawn, very short. And basically its jam is the Valdor Neutron Laser. So heavy, hitting on 3, strength 16, AP 4, D6 plus 1. So it's like a Vanquisher cannon, but not as good. Okay. And if you're targeting monsters and vehicles, you get to reroll the damage roll. So D6 plus 1. So yeah, I think if I quickly check if I can find the Vanquisher quickly, I'm pretty sure, as I said, it's just like a Vanquisher, but not as good. which is a bit of a bummer. But I think we can all probably agree that any of these sort of models, unless you own it or can get them 3D printed, you wouldn't spend a lot of the money in the Forge World. But yeah, I mean, the Vanquisher's AP4, Strength 18, and D6 plus 6. So this is, it's like the Vanquisher, but it was good. The Valdor, which is a shame because it does look amazing. Okay, so that is the first PDF document finished. We're at 40-ish minutes, so on we go to the second. And the second is mostly the aircraft. So, Avenger Fighter. Now, one thing I've noticed, and I think, tell me if I'm wrong, but gone are the days of the -1 to hit that aircraft automatically had. They're now you can just shoot them out of the sky, which is good and bad. So 130 points, which certainly is cheaper, and as referenced, the Valkyrie, the plastic kit, is 200 points. So what do you get for your money? You get 14 wins, toughness 9, which I think is probably less than a Valkyrie. And its shooters and blasters are, you've got the Avenger Bolt Cannon, Heavy Stubber, 2 las cannons, and armored hull. So what does it look like? The Avenger Fighter looks quite cool. I think all the aircraft look cool. Whether it's actually playable is a different question. So the Avenger Fighter, where are you? Is that? Yeah, so you've got like a rear gunner, which I think is super cool. And you've got 2 las cannons and then the, I believe it's like a Gatling cannon. So like a Warthog, an A-10 Warthog from the Afghan war. So 10 attacks, sustain hits 1, strength 6, AP 1, and 2 damage. And definitely that's going to chew up most infantry. Yeah, sustain hits 1's obviously gives you probably on average, I don't know, 12 actual shots. 12 actual shots. Now what is its ability? It's pretty garbage to be honest, but so if any Astra Militarum unit within 6 inches is destroyed by an attack made by a unit that can fly, this model can shoot for free. So, okay, yep, if you manage to be within 6 inches of a baddie, enemy aircraft, and it kills a friendly unit, you get to shoot it. Now, could you be a lawyer here? What I mean by that is it could be a bit of a wordsmith, and does that mean this thing can shoot on death? When a friendly Astra Militarum unit within 6 inches more is destroyed, does that mean when itself is killed, could it shoot on death? Again, being a bit of a lawyer, but what do you think? Yeah, I don't know. You could read it that way. Quite smarty pants there. Okay, the Voss Lightning. So this is the very zippy looking one. Yep, looking very cool. Definitely something out of Aeronautica Imperialis. It cost you, let's have a look, the Voss Lightning is 130 points, so it's also very cheap, but I'm pretty confident for its weapons it's total garbage. So you've got 2 las cannons, and you can take a lightning health strike rack. So 2 las cannon shots, las cannons are good, cool, and then you got you can fire 2 shots hitting on 4s, strength on AP3, D6 damage, so that's not bad, and anti-fly 2. And this thing is -1 to hit, so 130 points, you've got, what, 4 shots per turn. I don't know, I mean, yeah, unless you can somehow play this from a mission play point of view, which I'm pretty sure you can't at all for any missions, you'd only be taking this for the cool factor, which is massive respect if you do. Right, who's next is the Thunderbolt Heavy Fighter, the Thunderbolt. Now, Thunderbolt, where is the Thunderbolt Heavy Fighter? I'm going to embarrass myself again. I spent too much time searching on this website. Where is the Thunderbolt? There it is. Oh, cool. Now that looks tough. That looks super tough. The Thunderbolt cost you 190 points, so 10 points left on a plastic Valkyrie. And what do you get? You get... Oh, wrong one. You get nose auto cannons, las cannons, and a Hellstrike rack. So the nose auto cannons, so twin links. Oh, cool. Okay, so 2 auto cannons strapped together. Basically, exterminator auto cannon on the Midwest battle tank. A las cannon and more rockets. So you get a bit more. Shooting, and just like its other Thunderbolt, the Voss Lightning, it's -1 to hit. Range attacks, the targets that can fly. Oh, okay. So no. So if you're targeting other units that can fly, you get +1 to hit. So I don't know, because it really feels that the meta is not going to allow aircraft to play a big role. And again, Forge World prices. 126 pounds for 190 points. Something that's designed to take out other aircraft. I don't think it's going to get much play, unfortunately. Right, the Vulture gunship. So this is this beautiful looking thing here, which has all the zappers. It's like an Apache helicopter. Okay, so how much does it cost? 225. Okay, so it's 25 points more than its Valkyrie sibling. And what do you get? You get heavy bolter, 2 rocket pods, 2 Hellstrike racks, and you can replace the racks with Gatling cannons. So, okay. Now, the Gatling cannons is a new one. So you've got, oh, wow. Okay. 18 shots. So you get 2 of those. That's 36 shots. Sustain hit ones. Oh, wow. This is nice. Okay. So you can get 36 shots, you know, on average. That'll be, what, average 36. Let's call it 40 shots on average will come out of it with the sustained hits. Albeit strength 5 AP 0 1 damage, really going to mess up some infantry with that. Then of course you've got heavy bolter and some rocket pods adding a bit more chip damage. Its ability, it can hover like the Valkyrie, and after they've been hit they can take a battle shock test, which having been hit by 40 shots is fair enough. But at 225, maybe, I think just the volume of dice is fun. Maybe with the Vulture, just volume of shots. Maybe. Okay, who's next? Now these monstrosities, the Marauder Bomber. So I've seen these played in tournaments a couple of times, and it's glorious to see them because they're freaking massive, and they're expensive. Now where are you? Come on, don't embarrass me again. There it is. So there's the Marauder Destroyer. It's like a B-52 bomber, and there is the bomber. Okay, so we're looking currently at the bomber. Okay, so what does it have? It's got heavy bombs. It's got 2 heavy bolters, las cannons. So you can swap the bombs for Inferno bombs, and what the bombs do. So you roll 9d6, and if it's a monster, you add 1 for every 5+. You add 1, you get a mortal wound basically. So 9 dice. Hitting on 5s or 4s, you inflict a mortal wound as you pass over, yeah. So that's super fluffy. Is it meta? How much do these things cost? The Marauder Bomber costs you 345, and it's also Titanic, which I don't know what that actually means anymore. Quite expensive, physically very expensive. Is it enough? It doesn't have a lot of shooters. 2 heavy bolters, 2 las cannons. I mean, toughness 10, 20 wounds, and you know, given flyer's got no -1 to hit, and if it does, tell me. I don't know. I'm not, outside of cool factor, not the biggest choice, unfortunately. I think. Okay, the Destroyer. Now, the Destroyer basically has got more shooters and missile racks. So the Destroyer cost you 375. Okay, so what are the shooters it's got? It's got 2 assault cannons, heavy bolters, nose autocannons, and Hellstrike missile rack as well. So, but it's got a rule. Its rule, okay, is bomb drop. What was the other rule for this one? Okay, so it's got bomb drop. Okay, so when it flies over something, you roll 6d6 and a 3+ to suffer a mortal wound. Okay, that feels better than 9 hitting on 5s, yeah? Okay, so that's better compared to its bomber friend. And it's got a crap load of shooters, albeit like relative chip damage. So assault cannon, you know, just devastating wounds, 6 shots, not bad. Heavy bolters are always decent these days. Missile racks are good into other flyers, and then the autocannons, twin linked is also. But this is strength 10. Because it's Marauder. So strength 10, AP2, flat 3 damage. Okay. So this probably is better than the Bomber. It is 375. Well, if you were going to buy either of the two, you'd probably buy the Destroyer, yeah, because it's got more shooters. Its mortal wound output's more reliable. And just like the Bomber, rule are cool. Massive respect if you play these, because they're amazing models. Alright, now to the Tarantula battery. So, you can take this thing either with heavy bolters and las cannons. And if you haven't seen these out before, they're just these little crab things which keep still or game. Very fluffy. Cost you £30. And these can be filled in units of 1, 3, or 5 at 35, 70, or 105. 35 points per model. So, just like the Cyclops, they can't hold objectives, and these can't move. So, toughness 5, 4 wounds, 3 plus save. You know, they're basically like a space marine, maybe, kind of. And this is no different. But okay, interestingly, here's a twin las cannons. You're only shooting once, and twin heavy bolters. You're only shooting 3 times. Now that feels different to. Okay, actually, that's the same as the Bane blades, yeah, because they can only shoot like 3 in one. Well, only 3 on the twin. Anyway, so where it's got opportunity, and I was briefly chatting to some of the patrons, is that okay, so this can target. This unit can fight Overwatch stratagem for free, and it can do so if you've already used a stratagem on a different unit this phase. So, if you took 3 individual, as I read it, you could basically fight all of them in Overwatch, or if you grew a group of 3. You could fire them in Overwatch whenever, even if someone else has done the same thing. And again, as I said for the, I think the Malcador Defender, given Overwatch now can be both in your enemy's movement and charge phase, you could shut down a lot of play. Now, obviously hitting on 6s still, but with sustained hit 6, sustained hits 1, you could get lucky. And of course, don't forget that our regimental doctrine basically rewards 6 to hit is an auto wound. So at 35 points a model, could be some play if you own them. Great. If you want to get them 3D printed, probably do that. Just get it cheaper. Because it costs you 35 quid, and they're physically quite small models, but maybe some play there. Maybe some play. All right. Now the Rapier Laser Destroyer battery. Now I don't think you can buy them all anymore. So this model is basically like the Hades breaching drill, like a ride-on lawnmower with a guy sitting on the back, and it's a big like blaster shooter. So you can't actually buy the model anymore. The only place I can see it is you get it from like 3D printing people, which is something generally don't like. But basically, it is the Rapier Heavy Destroyer is 30 points. Okay, and you can take it in groups of 1, 2, or 3, so 30, 60, or 90. The key thing that some of my patrons said is it's got the keyword of infantry and also artillery, which means that it can benefit from, I think, some stratagems, or I think it's the Master Ordnance, where you get sustained hit 1, I think, for artillery units, I think. Tell me if I'm wrong. Okay, because it basically has a crew, yes. It's got, yeah, again, you place 2 artillery crew next to it, and for everyone that dies, it's lost a wound. So because it's got 3 wounds, it's strength 4, 4 plus save. So its main course, of course, Laser Destroyer. Heavy, so hitting on 4s. If you're still. Strength 12, AP 2, D6 plus 1, twin leaks, which means you get the reroll, the wound roll. Okay, so powerful volley. If it's been affected by an order and stayed still, you get lethal hits. Lethal hits. But don't we already have lethal hits? Okay. Now, I'm pretty sure we already have lethal hits, yeah? So, is this rule nothing then? Does this mean it's nothing? Well, of course, when the Codex comes out, maybe if we get new regimental doctrines, but I'm very sure this rule is basically what we already have, yeah? Tell me if I'm wrong, because I should know my army rules already, but I've already actually forgotten. But that looks like it's the same. Tell me if I'm wrong there, because I think that's crap. But okay, 30 points each, a fair bit of damage output coming out of it. Definitely, if you can get them 3D printed, give them a whirl, because it is quite cheap. Albeit it moves at 6 inches, which it used to move at 4. I think it was quite slow before. Okay, next is the Hades breaching drill. So I've got 2 of these. I played them religiously at the back end of the 8th edition Codex. We're playing 9th edition, and I'm really happy to see it actually made it into the book, because I was scared it was going to get legend. So the Hades breaching drill cost you 110 points. It's not super cheap. Toughness 9, 3 plus save, 8 wounds. Now, what can it do? Let's just check. It's squads of 1. Okay, so the melter cutter drill is basically, if you eyeball it, it's basically a melter. Albeit, yeah, it's basically a short-range melter with a D6+2, which, if you actually got the model, in between all the teeth, it actually has a melter hidden in there. So it's a really cool model, and they're like half the size of a Chimera. And giving a nod back to what it could do in the past is basically it can deep strike, so it can emerge from underground, pop up, and eat people with its 6 attacks, which actually is pretty decent. And if it gets an order hitting on 3s, which is actually all right in the scheme of things. And what you can do is basically you can bring up an Astra Militarum infantry unit out of strategic reserves within 9 inches of this model. So this feels quite good. So you can have some really good play. So remember, Astra Militarum infantry is all of our battle line units. It's going to be Kazrakans. It's going to be you wouldn't take signs, but it could be signs, and crucially, it could be Bolgrams and Ograms. Now, the fact it says, okay, wholly within 9 inches of this model, but not more than 9 from itself. Okay, 9 inches from enemy units is no change, just like traditional deep strike. But the 9 inches from itself is a big change because it previously was 3. So for whatever reason, if you put the Hades Breach and Jewel by itself, you could then deploy the Bolgrams, whatever else, further away than usual. So actually setting up more situational play. Now again, you take a 20-man blob of infantry, you need a lot of space to make them fit. Even Bolgrams have got quite big bases. But this feels like it's got some really good potential. Now, the one thing I keep forgetting of, actually, I need to bring up some other videos, is that the stratagem that the core stratagem where vehicles can do mortal wounds on the charge. Now, at 6 attacks, and I think basically, you roll a D6 for each, I think it's 5s inflict on mortal wounds. So I'm happy to say this as I look at it, this could be a really good melee unit to be taking for us, in my humble opinion. At 110 points, I think it's basically the cost of 3 Bolgrams, and it costs you 42 pounds, just get it 3D printed. I really think, happy personally, because I've got 2, that this actually could have play. I'm very personal, and I'll definitely be playing this. I'm going to play it against Orcs tomorrow morning, tomorrow lunch, so I'm definitely going to bring this against my friend who plays Orcs, so very good. So I think there's opportunity. Okay, almost there. So the Trojan Support vehicle, if you don't know what that looks like, it is basically, it's like a Chimera body with a crane in the middle, taking some gubbins out of it to repair stuff, and I don't actually know if they still sell it they don't sell it in the UK anymore. Fantastic, that's really helpful. Okay, so this costs you 80 points, and it's not about its shooters. What it can do is it repairs vehicles within 3 inches, so D3. Basically, until the next command phase, that vehicle can roll hit rolls of 1. So, not bad. Now, it does call out that it can't also be then buffed by Regimental Engine Seer, which can give vehicles a 4+ invul save, which is mental. But, I mean, okay, the fact they don't sell the model in the UK is annoying, because it is a cool model. It's got some, okay shooters at 80 points. I mean, a Chimera is 85. I don't know. It just doesn't probably do enough. In the old rules, you used to be able to reload one-shot weapons. So the Death Strike missile, you could constantly reload it, which is funny. But I don't know. This is not gonna blow your socks off at 80 points. So that's actually it. So that's good, because this has been just on an hour. Now, before I give some reflections on all this overall, let's just quickly eyeball what's available in the UK and the models that I've actually missed. So, the Gorgon, the monster, this is the actual one I was thinking about, because you can put here's a Death Corps of Krieg guys line on it. This has got no rules, so that's going to be, I assume, Legend. What else? Okay, Quad Heavy Launcher Battery, no rules. There's the Infernus. The Minotaur Artillery Tank, which is ugly. No rules, that's gone. As I said, the Engineers are gone. What else doesn't have rules? That might actually be it. Oh, yep, Quad Thud Launcher, Heavy Mortar, no longer got rules, which is a bummer. And these were sold out, you can't buy anymore, but the Heavy Mortar battery, and then also the the Imperial Arvis Lighter, which basically was a weird little transport. So there are some models still available which have no rules. So they're probably going to be Legend, I assumed, but that's sad to see that, you know, I mean, these were kind of okay. And this was basically two basilisks strapped together and a big ugly model. So a key point there, some of them just don't actually get any rules. Now, reflections overall. So, okay, firstly, flyers. I don't know. I mean, none of these really stick out. Maybe the Vulture, as I said. Where's the Vulture? Just given it got so many shots. If I'm reading this right, you take 2 Vulture Gatling cannons. You're getting a lot of shooting at 230-ish points. Potential merit there. But I mean, the rest of the flyers, they just don't do enough. The Marauder Bombers, I really want to see them work, honestly, because I want to then have an excuse to buy one and paint this big bad boy and play it on games like this. Imagine transporting your carry case, you've got to take like a bloody suitcase because the thing's so big. Just not going to work. Tarantula batteries, maybe. You could have some gimmicks there. Rapier Laser Destroyer, they don't even sell it. That's annoying. Hades Breach and Jewel, tick, tick, double tick from me. And the Trojan Support vehicle, not really. Now back onto the tougher questions with all these vehicles here. So I think, okay, so the Def Corps Marshal at 60 points, 5+ invul save. He definitely has merit to be bolted into his Def Corps friends. The Rider Squadron with the Commander versus the Rough Riders. I mean, Rough Riders are just like meh. Now so are these, but they're quite cheap at 60-ish points, I think the points was. Maybe. Carnodon, no, it looks ugly as well. That's why I don't like it. Cyclops demo vehicle, if you can get it 3D printed, just spam them because they're cool. And then when it comes to like the Malcador, I think the Defender's got opportunity, and then the Macharius and the Macharius is all right. I don't know, because I think again for me it's just the cost. Like these things are so overpriced, and having bought several of these, particularly the Hades Breach and Drill, and the now discontinued Armageddon pattern Medusa, they're very bad kits to produce, to physically make. They're very poorly made. These are actually very old Forge World kits. I think some of the newer stuff in other armies is quite good, but yeah, I mean, the only thing that sticks out as opportunity, I think, is the Stormblade. It's then, of course, the Earthshaker carriage battery. Just hammer people with artillery. The Malcador Defender, maybe, and then the Macharius kind of sits in a weird place. I don't know, but the Praetor could definitely work. It's good versatility between infantry and vehicles and monsters. But again, the physical cost is so much. But yeah, so I think overall, I would say we've been fairly treated in the points and the rules we've been given. Like, these definitely feel like they can be played. Most models can definitely be played. Whether they're meta is a different thing. But I think aside from the Earthshaker carriage battery, I don't know, and again the Def Corps Marshal, not many units here are going to make it onto meta lists. And what I mean by meta is competitive lists. But again, I haven't played my first game yet, playing it tomorrow. Very exciting to Orcs. And I've just looked at this just briefly last hour, so any opinions, please let me know what you think about how we've been treated for our Forge World models. And of course, as I've said, there's some models actually have been just left out completely, which is annoying. Or there's models that have been included which you can't actually buy the model for. So what do you think? Give me your honest opinions as always, and yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. So if you enjoyed this one and support me, you can do so by like, comment, or by subscribing, joining my Patreon platoon, or simply watching any of my other YouTube videos. And massive thanks to my current supporters, patrons, and subscribers. Let's get your bayonet sharp, lads gun oiled. Faith in the Emperor strong. Patreon platoon, sound off. Tank Commander Glenn. Tank Commander Watchdog Van Etten. Tank Commander Mitchell. Colour Sergeant DuPont. Sergeants Adal, the Colonel Merrill, Veteran Gibson, Hall, Lundeen, Guardsman Beard, Coquelin, Flint, Hills, Malik, Nitton, Nguyen, Smith, Tom, Tompkin, Conscripts England, Gilliam, Goodwin.